7 powerful signs you're a silent chosen one with huge hidden strength. There's something unshackably mysterious about those who move through life quietly, almost invisibly, never needing to announce who they are, never craving the spotlight, yet somehow they radiate a depth and presence that can't be faked. If you're watching this, if you've ever felt like you were different, not in a loud or obvious way, but in a quiet, deep, almost sacred way, then this might be the reason. You are what the ancients would call a silent chosen one. Not everyone is meant to be loud. Not everyone is meant to roar. Some of us were designed to move in silence, to carry strength that doesn't need to be proven, to awaken others not by what we say, but by what we are. But here's the paradox. The world often overlooks the silent ones. It mistakes stillness for weakness, humility for invisibility, and silence for insignificance. That's the illusion. That's the test. Because the silent chosen ones are not here to perform, they are here to embody. And their strength, it doesn't come from outside validation. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek recognition. It comes from within, from a soul that has been through fire after fire and chose not to scream, but to listen, to feel, to become.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
One of the first signs that you might be a silent chosen one is this unshakable sense of inner knowing that you've had since childhood. You may not have had the words to describe it, but you always felt something deeper was going on beneath the surface of conversations, beneath the surface of reality itself. You could feel people's emotions before they said a word. You sensed when something was wrong, even if everyone was smiling. You picked up on energies, patterns, moods. And while others were busy reacting to the world, you were observing it, quietly, carefully, like a silent guardian in training. And yet, you probably felt out of place because of it. You might have been called shy, too sensitive, emotionally intense, overly deep. But those descriptions never captured the truth. The truth is, you were never timid, you were tuned in. You weren't weak, you were watching. You weren't afraid, you were feeling everything at once. And that deep sensitivity, that's not a flaw. It's your radar. It's your gift. It's why you can walk into a room and feel the tension without a word being said. It's why people confess their deepest truths to you, even if they barely know you. They feel something in you, a silence that listens, a presence that holds. But let's go deeper. One of the most powerful signs that you're a silent chosen one is that you've been through more than most could even imagine, yet you've never made it your identity. You've seen pain, you've felt loss, you've walked through traumas that could have broken you, and maybe for a while they did. But you didn't stay broken. You rebuilt in the dark. You healed in silence. You picked up the shattered pieces of your spirit and reassembled them without needing an audience. And in doing so, you developed something rare, spiritual resilience. Not the kind that shouts, "Look what I survived," but the kind that simply is. A quiet power. A grounded stillness. A knowing that no matter what comes, you will not fall, you will rise. And here's the twist that changes everything. Your silence is not emptiness. It's density. It's filled with lifetimes of wisdom, memory, strength, and insight. You don't speak to be heard, you speak when it matters. You don't move to be seen, you move with purpose. You don't follow crowds, you follow truth. And that's why your presence is so powerful. Because in a world addicted to noise, you are the pause. You are the breath between the chaos. You are the still point in a spinning world. And people feel it, even if they can't explain it. But being a silent chosen one also means facing a unique kind of challenge. Because your power isn't always visible, people may underestimate you. They may overlook you. They may try to silence you even more. And yet, this is part of your training. You're learning not to rely on external recognition. You're learning to root yourself so deeply in your own essence that no one else's opinion can shake it. You're learning to cultivate power that doesn't need to posture. And as you do, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract those who are ready to awaken, not because you told them to, but because you're being reminded them of their own. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to recognize how far you've come, how much you've carried, how much you've grown in the silence when no one was watching? Because silent chosen ones often downplay their journey. But your path has not been small. It's been epic in its silence, monumental in its invisibility, and now the world is shifting. The noise is crumbling. The false lights are flickering out, and suddenly, the ones who have trained in the quiet, the ones who have built strength in solitude are being called forward. Without fanfare, without drama, just a quiet inner knowing it's time. You don't need to change who you are to step into your power. You don't need to become loud to be heard by the right people. You don't need to perform to be seen by those who are meant to find you. In fact, the more you lean into your stillness, your authenticity, your quiet depth, the louder your energy becomes. The world is finally beginning to hear the silent ones, to feel their presence, to seek their guidance, and not because they shout, but because they shine. In the next part, we'll go even deeper into the hidden abilities that silent chosen ones often carry without realizing, abilities that, if awakened, could change not only your life, but the lives of those around you. These gifts are subtle, powerful, and sacred. And when you learn to wield them, you become a force of transformation without ever needing to raise your voice. The hidden gifts, unseen powers you've always had, but we're too humble to claim. There's something profoundly poetic about how life hides the most powerful treasures in plain sight, not in the hands of the loudest or the most visible, but within those who never asked to be chosen, those who simply carried the weight of their soul with quiet dignity. Silent chosen ones are like spiritual vaults. Within them lie gifts so rare, so potent, that even they often don't realize what they hold. And this isn't because the gifts are weak or diminished, it's because humility has always been your armor. You've never needed to prove yourself. You've never felt the urge to broadcast your light. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It's been glowing underneath your skin this entire time, waiting for you to look inward and say, I see it now. I'm ready. One of the most powerful hidden gifts of the silent chosen one is energetic perception. While others rely on physical sight and spoken words, you read vibrations. You feel people's intentions long before they act. You sense the truth behind the mask. This isn't something you learned, it's something you were born with. Maybe you didn't always trust it. Maybe you doubted yourself when your gut told you something was off, even though everyone else seemed fine. But over time, those coincidences added up. You began to notice that your instincts were rarely wrong, that your discomfort around certain people wasn't paranoia, it was wisdom. A built-in compass guiding you through the fog of illusion. And here's the thing, this gift isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about guiding others. You can walk into someone's pain without them saying a word. You know when someone's smiling to hide their sorrow. You feel when someone is lying not just to you, but to themselves. And when you choose to speak, your words carry weight because they don't come from surface-level thinking. They come from soul-level seeing. That's a gift. That's power. And it's time to stop dismissing it as just being sensitive. You aren't just sensitive, you're attuned. You're connected to something most have forgotten. Another hidden gift you carry is emotional alchemy. While the world teaches people to avoid pain, to numb discomfort, to hide their shadows, you have a different relationship with emotion. You don't just feel deeply, you transform through feeling. You've cried your way into clarity. You've sat with grief until it gave birth to wisdom. You've held rage until it showed you what you stand for. Emotions don't scare you because you know they're not weakness, they're energy. And energy, when honored, becomes power. You've learned how to transmute heartbreak into compassion, silence into strength, and wounds into weapons of light. That's not something you can fake. That's not something a motivational quote can teach. That's earned. That's sacred. And then there's your presence. Yes, your presence. You might not realize this, but just by existing, just by being who you are, you shift rooms. You bring calm into chaos. You bring depth into shallow conversations. You bring stillness into overstimulated spaces. People feel safer around you. They open up around you. They remember themselves when they're with you. And you don't even have to try. That's the power of a silent chosen one's presence. It speaks louder than noise. It heals without words. It awakens others without pushing. But this kind of energy can be isolating, can't it? Because you often feel like you're always holding space for others, but rarely receiving the same in return. People come to you for guidance, for healing, for clarity, but who do you go to? Who sees you beyond the role you play for them? That's the silent weight you carry. And yet, even in that solitude, you stay open, you stay loving, you stay true. Because deep inside, you know your path was never meant to be ordinary. You didn't come here to be popular. You came here to be real. Let me ask you something that might shake you. What if the very things you've downplayed about yourself were the exact tools this world needs right now? What if your quiet intuition, your deep empathy, your emotional sensitivity, your still presence, what if those are the new superpowers in a world that's drowning in chaos, ego, and noise? What if your way of being is not behind the times but ahead of them? You see, the silent chosen ones are often early to awaken, early to feel, early to see. And because of that, life may have felt lonely, misunderstood. But you're not behind, you're ahead. Your job isn't to fit into the broken systems. Your job is to be the reminder that something more real, more sacred, more human is possible. And you do that not through loud declarations, but through silent embodiment. Now, here's the gentle challenge I offer you. Stop hiding. Stop pretending you don't know. Stop acting like your gifts are a burden. You are not too much. You are not too quiet. You are not too deep. You are exactly what you were meant to be, and this world is finally catching up to your frequency. In the next part, we're going to explore something even more profound, the reason why life has put you through so many trials, the spiritual weight you've carried, and how your silence has forged you into something unstoppable. This is where the silent chosen one steps into their destiny, not through noise, but through inner mastery. Forged in silence, why life gave you the hardest lessons to prepare you for the highest calling. There's a sacred truth that few are ever ready to hear. The hardest lives are often given to the strongest souls. Not because they deserve pain, but because their soul chose to evolve through fire. And if you are a silent chosen one, then your life has never been easy, not because you were unlucky or forgotten, but because you were being forged. Life wasn't punishing you, it was preparing you. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every dark night of the soul wasn't an accident, it was an initiation. A spiritual sculpting of your essence into something unbreakable, something eternal, something necessary for what's coming. But let's be honest, when you're in the middle of that pain, it doesn't feel noble. It doesn't feel sacred. It feels like drowning in a sea of silence, praying for a sign that someone, anyone, can see your suffering. You've cried in rooms when no one noticed. You've walked through days with a smile while your heart was breaking. You've offered love to people who only took, and through it all, you remained. You kept breathing, kept showing up, kept listening to that quiet voice inside that said, "Don't give up. This means something." And it does. It means everything. You see, the universe doesn't waste suffering, especially not yours. Every time you were broken, you learned how to rebuild. And not just with stronger walls, but with deeper wisdom. You began to see through the masks people wear. You began to understand the language of energy more fluently. Every lesson carved a new depth into your being. Every wound became a portal. And though it hurt, though it often felt unbearable, you kept going. That's not weakness, that's mastery. That's what it means to be silently chosen. The difference between those who collapse under pressure and those who rise is one thing, meaning. And you, even in your darkest hours, have always searched for meaning. You didn't just suffer, you learned. You didn't just feel pain, you transformed through it. That's the alchemy life designed for you. You weren't meant to live a surface-level existence. You were meant to live wide open, raw, awake. And yes, that invitation comes with suffering. But it also comes with strength, real, soul-deep strength. The kind that isn't shaken by opinions. The kind that doesn't crumble under pressure. The kind that can stand in a storm and still see beauty in the rain. I think about this. How many people have you helped simply because you understood their pain? How many lives have you touched not through speeches or posts, but through your quiet presence? You've likely been a healer long before you even realized it. A guide. A mirror. Not because you tried to be, but because life shaped you to be. It's not by accident that people are drawn to you, that they feel safe around you, that they open up to you. It's because your energy carries the vibration of someone who has been there, who didn't just read about darkness but walked through it and survived. This is why life gave you the hardest lessons, because your soul has a high calling. You're not here to live an average life. You're here to embody truth in a world addicted to illusions. And the only way to do that is to remove everything within you that isn't real: fear, ego, attachment, false identity. That's why you lost people. That's why you were misunderstood. That's why you felt like an outsider. Because you were never supposed to fit into broken systems. You were born to rebuild them, one honest moment, one healed heart, one awakened soul at a time. But here's the key: you can't fulfill that calling if you keep hiding, if you keep doubting your worth, if you keep playing small to avoid making others uncomfortable. You've already paid the price. You've already walked through fire. Now it's time to own what that fire made you. It's time to stop seeing your past as a weight and start seeing it as preparation. You've earned your wisdom. You've earned your peace. You've earned the right to stand tall in your truth, not with arrogance, but with certainty. So let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What if everything you've been through was leading you to this exact moment, not to survive, but to awaken? What if your pain wasn't a detour, but the blueprint for your purpose? Because when you begin to see your wounds as sacred, you stop hiding them. You start sharing their medicine. You begin to realize that the parts of you once felt ashamed of are actually the keys to your deepest impact. Your vulnerability becomes your power. Your authenticity becomes your leadership. And your silence, it becomes your signal of frequency that calls others home to themselves. This is where the silent chosen ones rise, not by becoming someone else, but by finally becoming themselves, fully, fearlessly. And when that happens, the world changes. Because when even one person lives in full alignment with their soul, they create a ripple that touches everyone around them. That's you. That's what you're here for. In the final part, we'll explore how to step fully into this role, not as a performer, not as a guru, but as a living embodiment of divine truth. We'll talk about how to live your calling without burning out, how to protect your energy without shutting down, and how to serve without sacrificing your soul. The quiet leader, how to radiate power without performing and guide others without losing yourself. There's a moment that arrives, quietly but undeniably, when the silent chosen one finally realizes they were never meant to follow the path, they were meant to become the path. Not through force, not through fame, but through frequency, through the simple, unwavering act of living in alignment with their truth. That's what it means to be a quiet leader. That's what it means to radiate power without needing to perform. And that's the final piece of your journey, not just surviving the silence, not just awakening your hidden strength, but embodying it so deeply that others awaken simply by being in your presence. You don't have to shout to be heard by the right people. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. The truth is, your energy speaks long before your words ever do. And when you're deeply rooted in your essence, when you've done the inner work not for applause but for peace, that energy becomes magnetic. People feel something around you that they can't explain. They feel safe. They feel seen. They feel inspired to step into themselves more fully. That's leadership, not manipulation, not control, but invitation. Quiet leadership is the art of holding space without needing to fill it, of guiding not with answers but with presence, of walking with others not above them. But to lead this way, you must protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. As a silent chosen one, you are naturally empathic. You absorb energies. You feel things that others don't notice. And if you're not careful, you can become a sponge for the pain of the world. That's not your role. You're not here to carry everyone's burdens. You're here to remind them of their strength. You can't do that if you're drained, depleted, or disconnected from yourself. So your boundaries become your spiritual armor. Not walls, but filters. You learn when to speak and when to stay silent, when to give and when to step back, when to hold space and when to walk away. The world doesn't need your burnout, it needs your brilliance. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you take care of your energy, the more powerful your presence becomes. You don't have to overextend. You don't have to chase. You simply exist in a way that gives others permission to do the same. Your life becomes a mirror, a map, a living testament to what's possible when someone chooses to honor their soul above society. That's the revolution. Not louder voices, but deeper ones. Not bigger platforms, but brighter inner lights. You don't need 1 million followers to make an impact. You only need to be fully you, because the right people will feel it, and your ripple will become their wave. This is your calling now, not to lead through ego, but through embodiment, to stop hiding your magic in the name of humility, to stop playing small in the name of being polite. You can be humble and still powerful. You can be kind and still firm. You can be silent and still heard. The world is shifting. People are craving something real. And you are what real feels like. You are the grounded presence in a world spinning out, the calm in the storm, the truth in the noise. So ask yourself, what does it mean to live in such alignment that your very existence becomes a catalyst for transformation? What would it look like to stop waiting for permission, to stop waiting for the perfect moment, and just be the leader you were born to be, quietly, powerfully, truthfully? Because you are ready. You always have been. You've just been preparing in silence. And now, the silence has done its work. The fire has forged you. The shadows have shaped you. And the time to rise not with noise, but with knowing is here. You are the quiet leader, the light in the dark, the guide who doesn't need to be followed, only felt. Now go and live like it. The world is waiting.